everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 5 of The Bad Batch, and yeah, this episode is another, adventure of the week, and a lot of people are already out there using, oh, it's filler, it's another filler episode, and I tweeted about this, like last week, during last week's episode, and I was like, look, the majority of this show, even based on the first season of this show, the majority of this show is adventure of the week. It's just like, hey, let's go on a mission, let's go do this, let's go do that. And, only once out of every 4 or 5 episodes do they actually touch on the overarching, what's going on with the Empire and Crosshair and all that stuff, right? So, if the majority of the show is just these weekly adventures, I don't think we can call it filler, right? And everyone always has this really disgusting, oh, it's filler, And my thing is the original origin of filler, I guess, was back when anime would have these long stretches of 2 or 3 season arcs because they just gotta make something up because the anime has to keep going and the manga hasn't been fully written out yet, so they're waiting on the manga to be written, that way they can get back to the actual story in the anime. So they would actually have to fill up time because they have to put something out. The show rarely stops, right? So it's that kind of thing, right? And that's not what this is, okay? The Bad Batch is not waiting for the rest of the main Bad Batch story to be written. The Bad Batch is exactly what they intended it to be. This is supposed to be a weekly adventure show. It's, that's all it is, right? So this idea of oh, it's just filler, they're just biding their time or something, it's no, this is the show, this is it, the main thing you're looking for is this. So it's I don't know, guys, I think it's just more of a case of people want this to, and look, I think it's just, we have to wait a week for these episodes to come out, and the adult fans like myself who we sit down and we do these reviews and breakdowns, or even, I think especially the other YouTubers who actually they stay up till 2 in the morning trying to stream the show live and trying to watch it with a whole streaming audience. I think it's especially those people who are getting this feeling of I stayed up late for this, and my thing is no one asked you to stay up late for this. No one is saying you gotta stay up till 1 in the morning to catch this show and stream it in front of 1,000 people, and then you can all collectively just be disappointed because you stayed up till 1 in the morning for this. It's this is the show, guys. It's a weekly adventure show. It's not filling up time. It's not doing something, trying to, just trying to fill up that Disney Plus slot. No, this is all it was ever intended to be. It's a weekly adventure. You're supposed to like these characters and have fun on what they're doing. Anyways, I know I'm ranting, but it's it's everywhere. It's literally I look on YouTube, I look on Twitter, I look at everyone's it's filler, it's just filler. Stop it. This is the show. There's no filler because this is all there is, Anyways, I'm ranting. This episode, another adventure of the week. I actually enjoyed, I think, a lot more than the last episode. The last episode had the comedic robot, which I did find out was oh god, what's his name? Is it Ben Sharp? Something like that. Anyways, the guy who plays Sonic the Hedgehog, he was also in Parks and Rec. He was the guy who was voicing that robot last episode. I thought it was really funny, but this episode I like a lot more because we kind of we don't find out anything crazy substantial as to history wise, but we do kind of get little hints of what's canon and what's not canon. Basically what ends up happening is they find this compass, and this compass is oh, this is from the ancients. This is what Fee says. Fee is the pirate lady we saw in the first episode, I think. And she's oh, this is from the ancients, even older than the Jedi, at least 1,000+ years old, right? And they go to this planet and they're looking for this treasure, and she, Fee's kind of this one who embellishes a lot of stories, and she throws out a whole bunch of planet names and artifact names and stuff like that, and it's, it could be argued what's true and what's not true, but, and I'm not the one who can sit here and do this. I don't, she's throwing out all these names, and I'm sure there's like a bunch of Easter eggs that people are already putting together. They probably wrote down every planet that she named and every little thing she claimed to have have found. But it seems like there's a bunch of references happening here that are kind of going over my head. I want to say she did say something about the Belmont diocese or something. She said something like that. She said the word Belmont, and I was like, oh, Belmont's the last name of that guy in Rise of Skywalker, wasn't it? So I don't know if there's like a connection there or if that's just me. Anyways, so right away this episode has a bunch of cool stuff like that, because like, oh, she's throwing out all these names, she's saying all this stuff, and she's talking about ancient ones before the Jedi, really old stuff. And I'm like, okay, so is there old Republic stuff happening here, or even older than the Republic? Is there like the Rakatan Empire and all that stuff? Like, we're going way back, so a lot of cool things happening there. So they find this compass, they go to this planet, and they try to get this treasure, which, she's like, oh, it's the heart of the mountain. Again, she might be kind of making up some BS here, right? Because while she is a treasure hunter / pirate lady, she's definitely one who's gonna like, let's dress up my stories a little bit. Let's even Hunter kind of says at one point, like, you're making this up as you go along. She's like, yeah, but anyways, so they end up going through all these traps in this real Indiana Jones style thing. They gotta light up the compass, and they see the markings on the wall and how to do the puzzle correctly. A lot of really Uncharted Indiana Jones stuff. And they end up finding the heart of the mountain, and it's this crystalline object that's all lit up, and they take it out, and you think a trap is about to happen, but instead what it turns out is that they've activated a machine. Now, it's interesting that removing something is how you activate the machine, and putting the thing back is how you turn the machine off, which is like the opposite of a key. I don't know what you would call that. But anyways, so this machine activates, and this is what we saw in the trailer. And I think during the time when the trailer released, a lot of people saw the glimpse of this machine, and for some reason it was getting around that this was a Zillo Beast thing related. And I'm not entirely sure where that started or why that, because the Zillo Beast is something that, like, oh, they're gonna clone it, and then it kind of just never came back except for like one comic book with Kylo Ren, right? So a lot of people saw the glimpse of this giant machine. It kind of looks like a dinosaur type thing, and for some reason people made that connection to Zillo Beast. I don't know. It's obviously, this has nothing at all to do with the Zillo Beast. It's just an ancient giant machine that kind of looks like a dinosaur, kind of looks like it might be Zepho related, like the shape of its head is sort of Zepho looking. But it starts walking, and it starts like shooting this crazy laser that's like shooting all around the ground, and it destroys Fee's droid, which I was like, no. And to be honest, I think the idea here is that this is an ancient AT-AT. Basically, this is like what the ancient equivalent of their AT-ATs would be. So this is like, in whatever Rakatan or even older type stuff they're dealing with here, Zepho, Rakatan, this is essentially one of their war machines. It looks like, like there was some ancient battle, and this was, this machine still functions, which is weird. Again, you got to take out the crystal in order for it to turn on, and you've got to put it back to turn it off. But anyways, the crystal melts, the machine shuts down, and they're like, oh, okay, so no one's ever going to be able to mess with this again. And they go home with no treasure. But of course, Fee's like, oh, I know, I got a tip on the chalice of something, and again, she's throwing a lot of names out there, and I'm sure one of these YouTubers is out there writing down every word that she said and being like, okay, let's go to Wikipedia and let's figure out what planet is she talking about, what thing from Legends or some obscure comic is like this is what she's referencing, which I'm gonna be fascinated to see that video. Anyways, and yeah, they just kind of go home, and it was just a fun adventure. But I enjoyed this one a little bit more than the last episodes, only because like we got a lot of cool Easter eggs and a lot of hints about like the ancient ones, even further past since the Jedi, so just a lot of cool stuff like that, and I enjoy that. Like, to me, that's what would you call that, lore building? Or it's because it doesn't have anything to do with the main story of the actual show we're watching, but it is, it's kind of building on the canon lore there, just kind of throwing stuff of like, there are ancient ones, and there was this machine that looks like a dinosaur kind of, so I'm sure sometime eventually we will get more, you know, someone else in a comic book or a novel will find a machine and like, oh hey, it kind of sounds like the machine they found in Bad Batch, and we're gonna see some kind of connection like that. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. It was pretty fun, and again, it's, you know, and I know I already went on this rant, but it's just, I feel like people need to reevaluate what they expect from this show. And, you know, again, I had to do this for season 1 because I was kind of right where some of these people are during season 1, where I was like, are they going to get back to the, you know, the crosshair and all that stuff? And I think it really is just like, this is an adventure of the week show. It's a serial adventure. It's like, you know, when you're a kid, you wake up every Saturday and you watch like, all right, what adventure are the Ninja Turtles gonna go on today? You know, like that's what the show is. It's not really meant to be any more than that. And like, yeah, occasionally we'll get an episode that like, you're like, okay, so what's Palpatine up to? You know, like they'll mention something like that, and everyone's like, ooh, you know. But for the most part, this is just, you know, let's go with the crew and we're gonna go on another mission and some stuff's gonna happen and maybe you'll get a little tiny hint of something and then that's it, the episode ends. You know, so like, I don't know, I think it really is just a case of like adults wanting the show to be something that it's not. But anyways, I'm rambling again. I like this episode a lot. You know, it's cool when we get like hints of ancient stuff and, you know, old lore stuff, and I kind of wish that they would do that even more because, you know, obviously with the High Republic coming out, like oh, okay, cool, we get like this older era, but it's not super old. You know, it's not like Rakatan Empire old. So I kind of like this little hints of like even older stuff. You know, even like, you know, and I guess keeping it vague of like exactly who owned this giant machine, what was this for, you know, keeping it vague like that is kind of fun because then we get to wonder about it. Like, is it Zepho? Is it Rakatan? Is it even older? Like, I think there was like the original hyperspace travelers, like those ancient guys, you know. Anyways, yeah, pretty fun episode, and that's the Bad Batch. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.